بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. One of the invalidators of fast is vomiting intentionally, meaning that if a person gets seasick, car sick, food poisoning, and on purpose he doesn't vomit, on accident he vomits, his fast is still valid. He has to fast, and whatever comes out, he would have to clean it. Ruling 1655. If a person vomits intentionally, his fast becomes void, though he may not have been obliged to do so on account of sickness. So it is a person that chooses to vomit that invalidates the fast. If a person eats something at night knowing that he will cause vomiting during the daytime, the recommended precaution is that he should make up that fast. He knows that he's going to eat something that's going to cause him trouble the next day. He's positive. But this is still okay. It's a recommended precaution that he makes it up because actually he didn't break his fast intentionally. He didn't vomit intentionally, even though he knew of the beginning. And basically, so a lot of these muftarat or invalidators of fast, when you read, it's when someone does it on purpose. If he eats on accident, if something happens to him, he has to throw up on accident. These don't break fast. It's amdan, with intent. So that we can learn our ahkam and we can practice it, please give a salawat. One of the greatest and most impacting decisions that we make in our life is who we choose to be friends with. And many times when we think that, when we look at our friends, sometimes someone asks, did I choose my friend myself or did he or she choose me? So choosing friends is something that has guidelines in Islam. Its importance, as one of the narrations says, Al-mar'u ala deen khalilih baqarineh. A person's religion is the same as the religion of his friends, of his companions. Whatever religion they have, basically, he'll have that religion. That's how much influence and effective, or how much influence friends have on each other. So this is one of the topics, and we're now shifting the discussions. It was more about spirituality, our relationship with God. And now we're shifting it more towards our social obligations. And we said that a person that wants to be complete, a person that wants to be perfect, seek perfection, he has to be complete in all realms, in all aspects of his life. Not just that he prays and he speaks to God in a very humble and holy way, that he also helps people. And he also considers what's important for people. And that if a person on this side cares about people, helps people, Allah will increase his dharfiyat, his capacity, and will give him more blessings. Because if a person only thinks of himself and is short-sighted, Allah will limit his rizq, limit his provisions. So one of these key social obligations or aspects of our relationship between people is friendship. I remember growing up, and when we hear the call of Allah, the call of God, and we want to say labbaik, we want to answer it. What affected me personally was that I slowly shifted from the friends that I had, and I chose religious friends. I came to Islamic centers. I came to masajid. And those friends that I had, they protected me. They protected my faith. Not only did they protect my faith, they also encouraged me, and I grew. Because a person should not be stagnant. His faith should increase from the month of Ramadan to the next month of Ramadan. And this is one of the factors. Not only do psychologists or people that study different sciences admit, but Islam has many narrations. The Quran has many ayahs, or it has emphasized the role that a friend plays on the way that their friend will become and behave. When we say friends, sometimes psychologists, some of them, or people in general, you say friends, they have a negative attitude. They always think that friends are something that are going to have a bad effect. That's not necessarily true. Even though friends can have a very bad effect on each other, they also can have a very good effect. So Islam, and if you look at the narrations, it says choose a friend, have friends, but it gives you guidelines. It says with these guidelines, choose your friends. With these guidelines, test your friends. And with these guidelines, stay away from these people. I was looking at a book of hadith that had the narrations of friends. In this book, there was maybe 1,500 narrations about friends. 1,500 narrations. The beginning of the book, it started with our relationship with Allah. Because not only do we choose friends from our same species, Allah is our friend. And if our love for Allah increases and increases, we will become His friend. Don't we read in Dua Joshan Kabir, Ya Rafiqa man la rafiqa la? Right? He who is a friend for those that don't have a friend. Or that those that understand Allah, those that come to know God, have cognition of Allah, then come to love Allah. It says, Inna ma'rifat Allah azza wa jal anisun min kulla wahsha wa sahibun min kulla wahda. Being a friend, knowing God, truly understanding Allah, He will be a comfort for every fear and a companion for every loneliness. A person that has Allah is not alone anymore. Right? Even if a person, some of our narrations say if you don't have these guidelines and you're going to have bad friends, then be alone. Being alone is better than having bad friends. Well, you're not necessarily alone because you have Allah. Right? He is a rafiq, a friend, a close friend. But this takes understanding and ma'rifah to develop and to love Allah in a way that you talk to Him, you sincerely talk to Him, and you begin to love Him, and He begins to love you. And this is something that we develop. So the first aspect about friendship is that Allah is our friend. In the narrations, I'm not going to talk about them tonight because I want to go more on the social obligations that we have, but that Allah is our friend. The second thing is that we should keep in mind before we talk about the narrations about friends is that the 12th Imam should be our friend. Imam Mahdi should be our friend. Ayatollah Milani was one of the great Maharaja. He said it's incumbent, it's obligatory for every Shia to spend a few moments in their day to talk to the 12th Imam, to talk to him. How do you talk to your friend? Talk to him. Mention what you did today. Mention what you want to do. Ask for help. Have that close relationship because you talk intimately, you talk closely with somebody that you love and that you're very close with. And this is something else. And inshallah, during the end of Ramadan, I would like to spend more time talking about the 12th Imam. And that we know that his ghaybat, his occultation is not his occultation. It is our occultation. We are in ghaybat. He has hudur. Batinan, his existence is shining everywhere. But we have hidden ourselves with our sins. And if we purify ourselves, just like you can have a meeting with Allah, they asked one of the ulama, they said, can you meet the 12th Imam? He was an arif. He said that you can meet Allah, you can talk with Allah. Why can't you talk with the creation of Allah? So we are hiding from the 12th Imam. This is something that is very important for us to notice. We are hidden. Our sins, not only did I mention, remember last night, our sins have weighed us down, and our sins have blocked us to meeting the 12th Imam. Because there are many people that have tasharrufat and have met the Imam. Look at Najib al-Thaqib in that book, maybe 180 instances of ulama that have met the 12th Imam in the occultation. So the 12th Imam is somebody that we develop our friendship with, that we ask things that we want help with, we ask him because he is the vicegerent and proof of Allah over all of creation. Imam Ali alayhi salam, about friends, he basically in a beautiful way shows us how important friendship is and what effect it will have on us. He says, وَمِنْ خَيْرِ حَظِّ إِمْرَئٍ قَرِينٌ صَالِحٌ. From the best fortunes, from the best thing that can happen to somebody is that he has a good friend. He has a virtuous companion. This is one of the best provisions and gifts that Allah can give to somebody, a pious friend. فَقَارِنْ أَهْلَ الْخَيْرِ تَكُنْ مِنْهُمْ. So become friends, attach yourself with the good, you will become good. Come to the Islamic centers, come to the masajid, choose your friends with them, acquaint yourselves with them, you will become good. Right? That's one of the dangers of leaving the centers, that's one of the dangers of leaving the masajid, because everybody needs friends. People don't like to be lonely. So they start becoming friends with anybody that will become a friend with them. They'll approach them, they'll joke, they'll laugh, and slowly they won't notice it, they'll become friends. So one of the most important things we can do is coming to the masajid will allow us to choose good friends, going to different centers. And then we're going to mention how we can value a friend, because Imam Ali alayhi salam is saying this is one of the greatest gifts. This is one of the good fortunes for a person. So then when you find a friend, be kind to him. Know his worth. We'll read some of these. They'll say, don't let him be more generous than you. You should be more generous to your friend. So Islam is a religion that cherishes and respects the friends and gives us guidelines how to find our friends. And then if Allah gives you this great bounty, protect them and guard them. وَبَايِنْ أَهْلَ الشَّرِّ تَبِنْ عَنْهُمْ. And separate yourself from the evil people. Distance yourself from the people of evil and you will not be of them. Distance yourself from the sinners. Distance yourself from evil people. Brothers and sisters, I'm not saying that we live in our life that we only have, we seclude ourselves. No. But if somebody is going to be your rafiq, your friend, somebody that you can open your heart with, right? Make sure they're not part of the fasiqeen, the sinners. One of the minimal things that a sinner does when somebody is friends with somebody that does not care too much about how they practice Islam, one of the effects is that when they sin, you'll notice that bala doesn't happen upon them, right? For example, they do a sin. They lie a lot. And lying is a big sin. Therefore, you're expecting the punishment of Allah on him. But you see his life is nice. His life is great. He lies, but he has a good life. He's comfortable. Then you start doubting. You're saying, is this a bad sin or not? Or any other sins. So one of the minimal things that being friends with somebody that sins is you devalue, you make that sin a lot less important in our eyes because you see he's not being punished. That's one of the effects. Let's give a salawat. One of the teachers of akhlaq said about having bad friends, and this also applies about good friends. He says, look at the way when you eat a sandwich or any types of food. Look at the way that you're eating it, you're not paying attention. You're just eating and eating. Suddenly it's gone. The sandwich is gone. It's completely gone. You didn't notice that you're devouring the sandwich. You're eating the sandwich without even thinking and it was gone. He said a bad friend does the same thing. Slowly and slowly, he starts affecting you and affecting you slowly. Then suddenly you'll notice there's nothing left of you anymore. There isn't faith, there isn't akhlaq, there isn't ethics, there isn't good behavior. So just how you notice a sandwich you're eating without in your conscience, so you're not even paying attention, the same way a bad friend will affect us and will become like him. Same way with a good friend. If you meet a very knowledgeable person, if you meet a very compassionate person, slowly and slowly, without even thinking about it, you'll become like them. Some of the Urafa, they like to choose environments that were very, very spiritual. These environments, like the majalis, like the masajid, they uplift the spirit. Some of those that are very careful, they would always like to visit the shrines of the imams, like to visit the masajid, because that itself has a very big effect on the soul compared to going to places of sin, meeting with places of sin. So there's both a spiritual effect that we don't notice when we're around in a bad environment, and also there comes that effect of our behavior that starts to change. There's a beautiful narration from Prophet Isa alayhi salam. He gives us guidelines. I haven't seen this, the Christians narrate this. So it comes to mind that some of the traditions that we have from the Ahlul Bayt, because this is from the Ahlul Bayt that Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, said this, are preserved from the family of the Prophet. The family of the Prophet not only preserved the narrations and sayings in the Quran, they also preserved the sayings of other prophets. One of the professors in Qom, Dr. Lugenhausen, compiled a book about the narrations of Prophet Isa alayhi salam from Shia Hadith, from the Ahlul Bayt. So these are narrations. I haven't seen it. If you see it, let me know. It's a beautiful narration that Isa alayhi salam, Jesus, guides and tells his Hawariyun. Hawariyun are very close, are disciples, or very close people around a prophet or imam, the Hawariyun. They ask him, Man nujalis, who should we sit with? Who should we spend our time with? Right? Who should we gather with, congregate around? He gives them three advice. This is three guidelines that we can learn from this narration. قال من يذكركم الله رؤيته. Be friends with, sit down with somebody that when you see them reminds you of Allah. His seeing, you see some of the ulama, some of our friends, some of the scholars, you see them and you're instantaneously reminded of Allah. For example, like Ayatollah Bahjat. You see him and you remind yourself of Allah. Some people in society, you see them, you remind yourself of shaitan immediately. Right? So you have this effect, or the jokes they make, the way what they say, it reminds you of the dunya, the world. You forget about Allah. Forgetting about Allah is also part of what shaitan is doing. So the first guideline that Isa alayhi salam is choose a friend that when you see him reminds you of Allah. His ru'ya. The second, وَيَزِيدُ فِي عَمَلِكُمْ مَنْتِقُ ilmukum mantiqu, sorry. And that his knowledge, when you talk to him, you gain something, you gain knowledge. A lot of the times when the narrations talk about knowledge, a lot of times it's about ma'rifat, about knowledge of the Quran, knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt, religious knowledge, knowledge of the hereafter, of where we came from, where we are, real knowledge, right? So spend time with people, we'll hang out sometimes with some of our friends, and at the end, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and you come and say, what did you learn at the end? I say, nothing, we just had a good time. These are not good friends. And when I give this speech and this lecture, I'm telling myself too. See, in Qom and in the seminaries, it's very important who you're friends with, because you have study partners and you spend a lot of time with them. A lot of the times, the students of knowledge, when they sit just to hang out and have fun, they're discussing knowledge, they're discussing things that they're thinking, the research they're doing. They give each other guidance. They increase each other's knowledge. And if you notice, a lot of the marajah, a lot of the scholars were friends with each other. We were study partners with each other. They had that relationship. It wasn't like an Ayatollah was friends with a person that didn't really study well or was friends with. They usually were at the same level. For example, Ayatollah Shubayri Zanjani was also study partners with Ayatollah Sistani in Qom, for example. There's many other examples I'll give, like I gave Sayyid Jamal Golpaigani was friends with Ayatollah Burujerdi. And they had that friendship last. And they increase each other's knowledge. When they sit down, he will say something, he will say something. They'll increase each other's knowledge. So the second is to choose a friend that he will increase your knowledge. A lot of times there are people that they're not very accurate when they talk. They'll sometimes lead you towards jahl more, ignorance more than knowledge. They'll misguide you. And the third, وَيُرَقِّبُكُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ عَمَلُهُ. And you see his actions, the way he's striving, the way he's working hard for Allah, he's working hard to get a good place in heaven. His actions increase your actions. It encourages you, the way you see him. Like, for example, Ayatollah Tabrizi, Mirza Jawad Tabrizi. The students say when this great manager, when he was in a car, he would either do three things. He was either quiet, remembering Allah, he was either giving advice or teaching, right? Or he was studying, right? So these three things, he wouldn't waste his time, so you'd see him busy. Either he was doing dhikr, which is thawab. He was either giving advice to somebody, which is a lot of reward, or he is researching and studying. So their harakat and their sakanat are for Allah. Their actions and their silence is for God. So when you see a person like that, you start getting encouraged. Oh, let me wake up. Let me start acting. Let me do this mustahab prayer. Let me behave in this manner. So this was from Prophet Isa alayhi salam, some of the guidelines, who to become friends with. One, somebody that when you see him, you will remember God. Two, somebody when you sit with him, he will increase your knowledge. And third, a person that when you sit down with him, he'll encourage you. His actions itself will encourage you to do good. And it's very easy. Once you have a good friend, a good environment, it's very easy to take yourself up. But having bad friends and having a bad environment, it is difficult. And if you can change it, it does need to be changed. Imam Baqir alayhi salam gives us some advice about who not to be friends with. This was about who to be friends with. This is about 5 groups of people not to be friends with. The first is not to be friends with a fasiq, a person that sins. لا تحسبن فاسقا فإنه يبيعك بأكله فما دونها. A fasiq, a corrupt person, a sinner, he has broken the laws of God, right? So he might, for a benefit for himself, something small, he might sell you out, right? Because he's thinking, he can't control himself. He can't control his stomach, for example. He has to eat. He might sell you out somehow so that he can get what he needs to. Because he doesn't care about you. He wants to be friends with you just to have a good time, right? So a fasiq, a corrupt person, don't be friends with them. 2, لا تحسبن البخيل, a cheap person, somebody that doesn't like to spend. فإنه يقطع بك في ماله أحوج ما كنت إليه. He won't help you with his money. He'll deprive you of your property. When you need his help, he won't spend for you. 3, لا تحسبن كذابا, somebody that lies, that doesn't tell the truth. فإنه بمنزلة السراب يبعد عنك القريب ويقرب منك البعيد. He is like a mirage because he lies, he exaggerates, he doesn't say what's true. What's far you'll think is close, and what's close you'll think is far. The 4th, ومن الرابع قال لا تحسبن الأحمق, an idiot, somebody that doesn't think properly. فإنه يريد أن ينفعك فيضرك. Ahmaq here might not necessarily mean somebody that's ignorant. Here it might be home according to aql amali, somebody that does stupid things, right? Somebody that isn't careful, he's crazy. He comes to help you in this narration, but he hurts you. This is a possible. The 5th, لا تحسبن قاطع الرحم فإني وجدته ملعونا في كتاب الله في ثلاثة مواضع. Don't become friends with those that have severed their ties with their family members. Because I have seen them 3 times in the Quran say that they are mal'oon, they are cursed. Our teacher, Ayatollah Mushtahidi, would say, he was very blunt, he said those that have severed their ties, say with their sister or brother or very close family member, he says, don't travel with them. He says, you'll get into a car accident. He'll tell us, it's very blunt. Right? Here it says they're mal'oon. He says, I don't travel with them. It's very blunt. So those that severed, remember when I'm saying these narrations, fasiq, kadhib, these don't go to our family members. We have specific instructions. Our family members, whether Muslim or not Muslim, sinners or not sinners, you can't sever your ties with them. Your parents, especially the closer you get, the more, for example, your parents, which is the closest, you can't sever your ties, even if they drink all the time and they gamble all the time and they worship idols and they do all the sins in the world, you cannot sever your ties. But something that I want to mention though is this. Some people ask, they say, I have family members, they sin. If I take my family members and go to their homes all the time, they come to our house, my kids will become misguided. What should I do here? The answer is that severing your ties is haram, meaning that you have cut relations. I don't have anything to do with you. A funeral happens in their family, you don't care, you don't go. A wedding happens, you don't care, you don't go. You're not there for them. Severing your ties. But with a phone, in a distant email, in a way that they know that you haven't cut relations with them. If this person or this family has a bad effect for you and your children, you're not forced to hang out with them all the time. You're not forced to accept their invitations all the time. You can live your life in a way that you are still somehow separated with them, but you haven't severed your ties, so you don't do this big sin, right? And you see this a lot, because some family members are very religious, some are not. And their kids start getting influenced, right? So this is something that we have to keep in mind, is to also preserve ourselves, our families, but also not to cut relations with our family members. Please give a salawat. Brothers and sisters, when you talk about friends, sometimes we think when I say have a good friend or religious friend, you think of somebody his forehead has been bruised and scarred from sujood, and his beard is really long, right? Even though these are good things, this is in the Quran. I'm not devaluing these things. But it doesn't mean somebody that's just, Salamun alaikum, brother, pray for me. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a good friend. Because there are guidelines. It says, test your friends. Test your friends with, one of them it says, test your friends with when you get angry. Get angry with them, see what they do. Start yelling at them. I'm not saying tonight to go and start fights tonight, but start getting angry with them. I mean, if it happens, it will usually happen with friends, right? They get into an argument. من غضب عليك من إخوانك 3 مرات فلم يقول فيك شر. Somebody that fights with somebody, gets him angry, his friend, and his friend doesn't say anything. He's quiet. He's respectful. فاتخذه لنفسك صديقا. Choose him as a friend. A person that doesn't say any vulgar language to you, doesn't curse you when he gets angry. Right? So these are tests that we have. Another guideline that Imam Ali alayhi salam, this guideline's from Imam Ali, that was from Imam, I believe, one of the infallibles. لا ترغبن في مودة من لم يكشفه. Don't become friends with somebody you haven't discovered yet. You don't know who they are. Sometimes we'll become friends with somebody very fast. Oh, you're Muslim. Oh, you're from this country. Oh, assalamu alaikum, brother, good. You don't even know who they are. Imam Ali alayhi salam and his wisdom, this is the wisdom of Imam Ali. Don't become friends with somebody you haven't discovered him. You don't know who they are. Test them with what I mentioned. Test them with, or some narrations with the time of salat. Test them with amanat, with money. Test them. Say, hey, I'm going to give you $20. Can you give it back to me? I don't know, however you want to test them. If they give it back to you, then choose them as a friend. In the last of time, there's narrations that says that don't be very strict. Don't be too strict on your friends because you'll be without friends. Don't be too strict on your actions to make sure this has ikhlas, this is riyah, this is for God, this is for people. You'll be without actions. Not to be too strict, to be balanced. When I'm saying these guidelines, it doesn't mean that you cut your relationship with all your friends. I want to give you, brothers and sisters, a story about how sometimes we think that people that apparently are religious, we think they should be our friends, but they haven't been tested yet with what I said, trusting and being truthful. One of the people that I'm sure that you've heard, Mufaddal ibn Umar. I don't know, have you heard of this name, this great companion of Imam Sadiq, Imam Qadhim alayhi salam, Imam Rida? You heard of Tawheed and Mufaddal? You heard of this book? This book that has 4 parts, where one of this companion of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he had questions asked from an atheist, and he approaches the Imam and learns how to answer this atheist. Tawheed and Mufaddal. So Mufaddal ibn Umar is one of the great companions of Imam Sadiq. Actually, he was such a great companion, he was Imam Sadiq's representative in Kufa. And later on made for Imam Musa Kadhim. They spoke very highly of him. But it's interesting how people treat people. The people of Kufa, they write a letter to Imam Sadiq. They say, they complain about Mufaddal ibn Umar. They say he doesn't have good friends. Imam Sadiq tell him to separate himself from his friends. He doesn't have good friends. Right? It's very interesting that they judged the friends of Mufaddal ibn Umar this way. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam wants to show people that it's not just about the apparently being religious. Let's test people. So he returns his letter, Mufaddal ibn Umar, and he says in that letter, it comes back with a group of people from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and he reads it out loud in front of everybody. What does the letter say? The letter says that basically Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is requesting help. I need money. He had a project. He had something that he wanted done, and he wanted to gather money from the people. So he asked them for money. So he reads this letter, Mufaddal ibn Umar, and it wasn't the answer. They wrote a letter that tell him to abandon his friends, and he writes this letter, I need money. Something like that. This isn't word for word. He asks, so he reads this letter in front of everybody, and a lot of people say, that's a lot of money. The same people that were complaining that Mufaddal ibn Umar has bad friends, that's too much money. That's a lot of money. They're like, can you help, brother? Can you help? Oh, come to me tomorrow, next week. I have some income then. They kept procrastinating. They didn't give a real answer. So Mufaddal ibn Umar was concerned. He was a representative of Imam Sadiq. Those people that brought the letter, they're eating dinner. He invites them. He says, stay here for dinner. He brings his friends that people were complaining. You shouldn't be friends with them. He brings them, and immediately, before they're eating dinner, they gather 2,000 dinars and 2,000 dirhams. The same group of people that the people of Kufa were saying, don't be friends with. He read the letter, says, Imam Sadiq needs help. He said, this is my Imam. They gave him whatever they had. They gave him their money. So sometimes you'll see people that will help Imamat, but you don't expect them to, right? Sometimes you'll expect people that are zahiran, very religious, and at the end, they won't help the Imam. There's this story about Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi. He also had a request like this. He was a big marja, Sayyid, very respected in Qom. They still, every year, they hold anniversaries for his death. He needed money. He needed money for the students, the theological students. He needed to give them money, Shahriya. So he asked, again, religious people, the Bazaris, rich people, him, people wouldn't help him. So then he said, that butcher, he told his representative, or he told the person that worked for him, go towards him, go to him, maybe he'll help. The butcher, when he comes, he hears that Ayatollah Mar'ashi Najafi, this marja, needs money. He gets a rag open, whatever cash, whatever that was in there, takes it, Everything. Puts it in there, doesn't even count it. Writes a check, puts it here and says, tell Ayatollah Ashir Najafi, I apologize. This is all I have. This is all I have. This person comes back to Ayatollah Ashir Najafi, sees that it's not been counted. It's whatever. He gives him, and he looks at the check. It was actually a check for a lot of money. Ayatollah Ashir says this. He says, Allah, resurrect me in the same position that this person is. Give me his maqam. Because he has given everything he has for imamat or the successors of imamat. So not necessarily does it mean that when we look at brothers the way that they physically look, even though these are very important, a mu'min should have a physical look. I mean, the Quran talks about the sujood, talking about we have to have beards, we have to have a religious attire, the sisters have to have hijab. But it's not that simple sometimes, right? Because some people will have good attributes and some people have bad attributes. It's up to us who we want to be friends with to see, are we benefiting from their existence? Are we benefiting from their presence? Or no? Because nobody will be perfect. We can't all become friends with, say, Ayatollah Bahjat. He passed away. It would be the best to become friends with a marja, and you would learn from their knowledge, you would become friends, but we can't, can we? So you get the next best, the next best, the next best. So therefore, you can't become friends with the most perfect of people. You choose friends that they all have faults. And actually in a narration from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, it says, sometimes in the community, you'll see something. Somebody will do something bad. And these are narrations to strengthen each other's friendship. As I said, when you have a friend, cherish them. Respect them. In this narration, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam tells Abdullah ibn Jundab that when you see one of your fellow brothers that follow the Ahlul Bayt, when you see them sin, لا تقول في المذنبين من أهل دعواتكم إلا خيرا. Don't say anything but good behind their backs. Don't say anything but good. Don't dishonor them. If you see people in the community, if you see people in the same madhab as you, preserve their honor. Then it says this, if you see them sin, wastakinu ila Allah. Pray for them, cry for them, cry severely for them to stop sinning. So sometimes somebody will do wrong to you in the community, and he's a brother of faith. Doesn't mean you should cut ties off and start talking bad about this brother or this sister. So you start doing dua, it says. Don't talk bad about them. Start doing dua about them. Bi tawfiqihim. Pray to Allah that Allah gives them the tawfiq to stop sinning. Wasalu tawba lahum. And ask that Allah makes him repent. So it's about when we see our friends, our dear friends, sometimes we have problems, everybody makes faults. Not to criticize them, not to talk about them. Love them. A friend loves them and starts doing dua for them. They can come back to guidance. They can do tawbah. Finally, I would like to just mention from the treatise of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, it has some of the huquq of our friends and when we have friends, how to treat them. It says, and the right of the companion. You can find this online. And the right of the companion is that you should act as his companion with nobility as much as you can. Otherwise, you should at least treat him with fairness. Be kind with him. Treat him with respect when you have a friend now, a good friend. Treat him with respect. Stand up for him. Be kind to him. Be fair with him. Honor him as he honors you. And guard him as he guards you. Protect him. Protect his honor. Protect his money. Protect himself. And do not let him precede you in generosity. Don't let him be more generous than you. If they're going to spend, you be the first person. And if he precedes you in generosity, then recompense him. Make it up to him. Next time you pay for something. Do not fall short of giving him the love that he deserves. Commit yourself to advise him, care for him. Advise him, the narrations say. Not only are we just friends, but we advise each other. If he has faults, in a way that they won't get upset, tell him their faults. And help him perform the acts of obedience to his Lord. Help him if he is sinning, if he doesn't know his ahkam, if he doesn't know what to do, help him. Help him, guide him. And help him restrain himself in any act of disobedience of his Lord he might attempt. If he wants to sin, tell him. Encourage him not to sin. Then be a mercy upon him and not a chastisement. Be kind to him. Right? And this is very important, to be kind to people. One of the ulama, I forgot which marj, I have doubt right now. He says, in the nights of Laylatul Qadr, he says, I know a dua that if I do, Allah will forgive me, or will forgive all of you. He said, oh Allah, whoever today has hurt me, whoever has has usurped my rights somehow, I have a grudge with. He says, tonight, I forgive them. I forgive them, and I know because I forgive them, they have done dhulm to me, you will forgive me. It's in the Day of Judgment. It says these narrations, Irham, Turham. If you have mercy towards God's creation, God will have mercy towards you. So it says, have mercy with your friends. If they do something bad to you, forgive them. And I would just like, this is one note I just would like to bring. Sometimes we overdo friendship. We spend too much time with our friends, and then we neglect our family, we neglect our kids, our wife. Or the same way the sisters might have too many friends and neglect their husband, their duties. This should all be in line with your responsibilities as a wife, as a husband, as a father, right? Or as a son. That you give time and respect to your friends, but you don't overdo it. You don't just hang out with your friends all the time. Where is this brother? He's never home. He's giving advice to his friends now. He's doing, right? Spend time with your family. I mentioned some of the ulama, they said when you want to study after your wife and your kids went to bed. Stay up. Take away from your sleep. Don't take away from them. I remember one of the ulama, he's a very famous preacher or muballigh in Iran. He was traveling on the airplane, and a flight attendant comes to him and says, he's famous. He says, Hajj Agha, give me some dhikr. I want to reach Allah fast. Give me some dhikr so I can reach Allah, so I can say this dhikr. He says, okay, you're a flight attendant. How much time do you spend with your family? He says, not much. I'm working all the time. He says, your dhikr is spend time with your family. That's your dhikr. Go and spend time with your family. And he says, okay, that's good. That's good advice. But give me this dhikr. Give me this dhikr. I want to reach Allah. There's no shortcuts. If you hurt your family, Allah will, as I said, He won't increase your capacity to reach, to have ma'rifatullah. You'll just be making yourself smaller and smaller. We can, let's dim the lights a little bit. As we said, the majalis of Imam Hussein are shafa, are a cure. For all those negative attributes we have in our heart, for all those sins we did, for our behavior, nothing will purify us as much as the majalis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And I say this to start the Rosa. One of our ulama, Ayatollah Razavian, was a great person. He was a great friend of Ayatollah Sayyid Najafi, who wrote that book, Journey of the Unseen World. It's been translated. And he has other books too. Both of them were great ulama and great arifs. Ayatollah Razavian was known, some say, to have tayul ars. He could travel without in a mystical or in a miraculous way. He would travel because some people would see him walking and he was going to the majlis, and they're in a car, they're going faster than him. He was walking very slowly, and they said that, Hajjah, would you want to come with us? You're going to be late. He said, no, I'll be on time. They sped away. They went fast. Then they noticed by the time they got there, Sheikh Ghulam Raza Yazdi was already on the minbar, was speaking. In a way, he went faster than them. Ayatollah Ghulam Raza Yazdi said that I read about it in his book, in the life that his students and people wrote about him. Once he becomes very, very sick. And he tells his friends, tells the people that took care of him, take me to the doctor. And when he meant take me to the doctor, it meant take me to the majlis of Imam Hussein. That was his opinion of a doctor. Take me to the doctor, which means take me to the majlis of Imam Hussein. It took 2 or 3 people to take him to the majlis of Imam Hussein. He goes there, drinks a little bit of the remainder of the tea from the majlis. A little bit, drinks it, immediately becomes healthy. And he walks home. So these are examples of the majlis of Imam Hussein. Why I like to every night bring our hearts to Karbala, to the musibat of Imam Hussein and the Ahlul Bayt, is because it has a huge effect on our souls. And we're talking about friendship. We're talking about no friendship exists. There's a very deep bond between a brother and sister. In the very deep bond between Sayyida Zainab salamullah alayha and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. She loved Imam Hussein very dearly. That she would give everything up. She would bring the message of Imam Hussein would be spread by her and Imam Sajjad. She would take care of the kids of Imam Hussein. She wouldn't eat, but would make sure that they would eat. She became in such a way, they say, that the troubles and the tribulations that she had, that she would have to pray in a sitting position. She couldn't stand up anymore. In one of the speeches that she has that's very sad, it broke the heart of even the enemies of Imam Hussein, is when she came and rushed forward to the dead bodies after they were martyred. She sees Imam Hussein, her beloved brother, her dear friend. She cries, Sayyida Zainab, Madloom Sayyida Zainab. But remember something. She might be Madloom, but doesn't mean she's weak. She's also very strong, just like her father. Imam Ali was the strongest of people, but was also oppressed. Doesn't mean they were weak. They were strong. They accepted this test of Allah. She comes to the body of Imam Hussein, and we see this prayer, inshallah, for behalf of this tawassul. May the thawab be for brother Muhsin's mother that passed away 2 or 3 days ago, that's sitting in this majlis. May, inshallah, the thawab go to her spirit. She says, Ya Muhammada, sallallahu alayka malikus sama. May the angels of the heaven, salutations be upon you. She cries to her grandfather, Ya Muhammada, Hada Husaynun murammalun biddima. He's covered in blood. He's curled up in blood. Maqta'ul a'da. His body parts have been cut up into pieces. They cut the Imam Hussein. Is in some of the maqtal. Inshallah, these things aren't true. We do dua that they're not true. But they say after they cut Imam Hussein into different pieces, they trampled his body with horses. وَبَنَاتُكَ sabaya. And your children are now slaves. They're prisoners. The children of the Ahlul Bayt, little children. As I said, 20 children that were in Karbala. إِلَى اللَّهِ الْمُشْتَكَى. I complain to Allah, she says. وَإِلَى عَلِيٍّ الْمُرْتَضَى. I complain to her father, Ali alayhi salam. وَإِلَى فَاطِمَةَ الزَّهْرَى. All these names are madloom. All of these people have faced dhulm. وَإِلَى حَمْزَةَ السَّيِّدِ الشُّهَدَى. هَذَا حُسَيْنٌ بِالْعَرَى. تَسْفِي عَلَيْهِ الصَّبَى. He has left without clothes. They didn't come to bury Imam Hussein. They just left him there. They say the villagers came to bury Imam Hussein. Tasfi alayhi sabah. The winds are blowing on his holy body. Qatila awlad al-ad'iya. The enemies have killed him. Wa huzna, she says. Wa huzna. Wa karba. Al-yawm mata jaddi Rasulullah. Today, my grandfather, the messenger of Allah, has died. They have killed his message. They have killed the messenger as if. But the message of Allah will be revived with the blood of Imam Hussein. Ya ashab Muhammad, O companions of Muhammad. هذا ذرية المصطفى. These are the children of the Prophet, the companions of the Prophet. Where are you? These are the children of the Prophet. يصافون يصاغون سوق السبايا. They're taking them in captives, taking them as captives, taking them as chains, walking barefoot. The daughter of Imam Hussein, Sayyid Ruqayya, her feet, imagine how bruised her tiny feet are, walking on the thorns and on the dirt of Karbala. It's just like the lips of Imam Hussein that are bruised and thirsty, her feet are bruised and thirsty. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Because of the honor of Sayyidah Zainab, may Allah, inshallah, protect her shrine, inshallah. May Allah help those that help protect her shrine, inshallah. Allah, because of the honor of Sayyidah Zainab, may you have mercy on the soul of the mother of our dear brother Hajj Mohseni, inshallah. Those that have passed away, if somebody has lost a mother, father, may Allah have mercy on all their souls, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you, because of the honor of Sayyidah Zainab, accept our fasts, accept our incomplete prayers, accept our du'as, remove grief and difficulty from our community. Make us love each other, inshallah. Allow us to establish a great community that, inshallah, will be a masjid later on in the future. But we have programs all the time for all the prayers. If we can all, inshallah, live close to this masjid and this community, we can develop great schools for our children, inshallah. Ya Allah, give us the honor of meeting the 12th Imam, inshallah. Make us of the companions of Al-Mahdi and make him reappear so that he can establish justice and peace and God worship in the world, inshallah. وصلى الله عليك صلى الله على محمد وإطرة الطيبين الطاهرين صلوات